Hey everybody, it's Alex from Old Man Playing Video Games Badly. Today we're going to talk Tarkov and the great Bitcoin crash of 2021.
Old Man Playing Video Games Badly.
So just around 24 hours ago from the time I'm saying this, yeah, give or take a little bit, this little message came out from Battlestate Games. I do like, by the way, the way that they blame Therapist for it, but let's go. Therapist just made us aware that the in-game value of Bitcoin has decreased by approximately 10 to 15%. She predicts a further decline of Bitcoin value in the foreseeable future. And it was true. When I looked at the price of Bitcoin yesterday morning, for me, it was 840 something. 846,000, I think it was. Right after seeing this, I went and checked, and it was 730, I think. Something like that. Anyway, it was a almost exact 15% drop. Okay. This morning, when I get up, so less than 24 hours in the cycle, I received another Bitcoin out of my my Bitcoin mining rig, and I went to sell it, and I got 600 and something for it, which would be another 15% off, so down almost 25 to 30% off of the initial value. Basically, about 25% off the initial value. People are screaming. And, of course, you know the answer. Is beta! Hee hee! No, is beta. Covers a lot of it. But anyway, the truth is this. The price of Bitcoin will drop again, almost certainly, and it will continue to drop. And I'll tell you why. My guess, I get itchy nose this morning. I don't know why. Allergies bugging me again. Anyway. My guess is that the price of Bitcoin will continue to drop, and at some point they will relabel it from being 0.2 Bitcoin to 0.1 Bitcoin. That would forecast a price around 400 to 420,000 rubles, which would be a 50% drop off from the 840,000 odd that was the peak. Now, the current Bitcoin USD price, as I look at this, is 58,000 US. The price in rubles is 4.472 million. So if you went to 0.1 Bitcoins would be worth 447,000 on today's price. That would be a significant correction inside the game. And it would also be a very big move to create a sort of a little bit of a better economy, a little bit of a better equilibrium inside the game. Currently, with Bitcoin having been 800 and something thousand, a lot of other things have suffered through sizable price increases. Fuel has become really expensive. Let's go have a look at fuel here really quick based on today's prices. Metal fuel tanks, 284. Jaeger is still 157, 248, but he does go out of stock every cycle. Metal fuel tanks generally have been over 300,000. It's been as high as 500,000 in the past. 284.5 is actually a big difference. For some reason that I don't entirely understand, the blue plastic ones, which are, you know, essentially 60% of it, are still a big chunk more of the price. They're a little overpriced for what they are. Dry fuel conditioner. Another one I check a lot of times is propane tanks. Propane tanks are starting to settle back towards what they are. Propane tanks were up at 130,000, which is a little bit different. Graphics cards are coming down rapidly. And I do mean rapidly. These were 1.8, 1.9, in some cases 2 million rubles not more than a few days ago. Now 1.4 to 1.5. 1.5 seems to be the agreed upon value price. And you can see a lot of 1.49s and whatevers that have been sitting that have less than reasonable number of hours on them. That's an indication that they're not even selling at that price. Okay. This is something, if you don't know this in this game, if you watch the expired in, if you have something where all the expired ins are all turning red and if they're getting like they haven't been selling, it really is an indication they're not selling. So the price they're asking is beyond what most people are willing to pay. Let me think what the other thing would be. Well, Tetris portable games, they're stuck because you can't trade them for anything at this point. And probably the most valuable thing at this point is the green lithium batteries. And even they've come back down. They were up almost to 100,000 and they've shrunk way back down. So the question would be, what all does this do for the economy? Well, I mean, economic-wise, obviously, this changes the math of doing running a Bitcoin farm or pushing to get the bigger Bitcoin farm. I have the small one. I have the level 1 10 carder. Some people have the 20 carder or whatever it is, the next level up, and so on. It's expensive, and if you're like me and you invested, you took rubles that you had cash and you used it to buy graphics cards to get your Bitcoin farm running. You're like me, I'm still in the hole. I'm in the hole by, I still need about another 10 or 12 Bitcoins just to break even on the concept. So it's really sucky. And this assumes that the Bitcoin stops at 0.1. Clearly, if necessary, by the next wipe, we could be looking at the Bitcoin being a 0.05 Bitcoin, which would be about 200,000 on current price. Now, there's one other thing that you have to remember in all of this, very, very important, which is the price of Bitcoin in the game is tied to the real price of Bitcoin in the real world. There are plenty of people out there who say that the current price is not supportable. And history, within reason, the history of Bitcoin seems to support that. I can remember the last big spike up event when it went from about 1,000, 1,500 to almost 20,000. At a certain point, everybody got away from it, and it got all the way back down to 4,000 or 5,000, whatever. It was still a big increase. If you think about where it started and where it ended after the event, it was still higher, but it wouldn't be out of the ordinary in Bitcoin terms for there to be a correction. It would take the current price from the current near 60,000 back down to something like 10 to 15,000. And that would change the values in the game, and that might change the economy as well. Now, the one other thing you have to remember, okay, besides the obvious is beta, is the idea that what the effects are on this, not just on the economy of Tarkov, but on what people actually do in the game. Because when the price of graphics cards went like this, and graphics cards became more valuable than a LED-X and more valuable than a, I'm trying to think of some of the other things, but basically graphics cards became almost the most valuable thing you could get, significantly more valuable than getting a Labs key card or a Red Labs key card, a whole bunches of things. What happened was more and more people would actually go and play Interchange as a PMC only to go in a game, to go to the two electronic stores and leave. They didn't even care if they got a run through. They just went, looked for graphics cards and left. Or they would go to do the same thing in reserve. Go into reserve, run to where the graphics cards spawn if they're there, grab them, leave. Don't even hang around. Don't play the game, nothing. Because economically it was so overwhelming. Well, it would appear that that might change. I noticed last night, I played a few games at the end of the night last night as a scav in Interchange, and I could tell you it was a ghost town. By comparison, less PMCs. 3 times in a row I went. 3 times Kiba was not even unlocked. 2 out of the 3 times lights weren't on either. The power wasn't on. So there's a change in what the players are doing and what boards they're playing. So if the players have decided that they're no longer going to go to Interchange because it isn't profitable enough, then they will have moved somewhere else to find something else that's more profitable. They may be back on the reserve or customs, or wherever they feel that they can get things like LED-X's and whatnot that pay better. Kind of a simple thing when you think about it, but it's a big change in the way the game plays. So that's my newsy update, I guess. One peg would call this a newsy newsy update thing. Whatever. Just my take on it. Just, if you're a Tarkov player, watch out, because 0.1 Bitcoins are going to be where we end up almost certainly, if not 0.05 Bitcoins. So govern yourself accordingly, live long, prosper, and loot like a madman. Don't kill me.
Old man playing video games badly.